Welcome to Surrounded by Sports, the Varsity Vibe. Today we're going to talk high school football. We're going to talk high school football playoffs. We're going to have Brian Lester on from the Navarre Press, the Santa Rosa Press Gazette. He's going to help me try to figure out does the FHSAA in their infinite wisdom decide who makes the playoffs, decide the rankings. Why do they fiddle and constantly change the districts and all that? Maybe if he's got an idea how that works, that would be great. We're gonna talk some other things, of course, and I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. I hope you'll enjoy the show. I want to make sure before we go to break to thank McCory Homes, Faust Builders, Sideline Sports Bar and Restaurant on Pensacola Beach for helping me chase how life and sports intersect. How do we help this community grow and prosper through the lessons that you can learn in sports, whether that just be, hey, I feel better because I'm physically fit, or it be, hey, when I was in Little League, I had a coach that reached out to me and pulled me up. I'm going to reach out to somebody else and pull them up. There's so many different ways that our community can be bonded with one another. One of them is sport, and that's what we try to chase here. Now, we're going to talk about, again, high school football. We're going to talk about the progress of young people, and we're going to talk about all that and more on the other side of the break after this.
You are watching Surrounded by Sports, the podcast hosted by Kevin Perkins. This show emphasizes how sports and life intersect while showcasing the Gulf Coast. And now, Surrounded by Sports.
All right. Welcome back. Brian, how are you doing?
Not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Tell me this, what office are you in today?
I'm up in Milton today.
Okay. Okay. So you've been busy, obviously. What all are you covering right now?
Uh, I was at soccer last night, over in Navarre. So basketball starts next week, but I did get a chance to check in with the new Navarre boys coach, Coach Harris Smith. So
Yeah.
he's gonna bring some good things to bring to Navarre. You know, he was at Gulf Breeze for 4 years, I think. So
Right.
as an assistant. So he's going to bring some good things over there. You know, kind of like the way Coach Neves did at at Milton, I think. So
He has that same type of energy.
same type of energy, promoting the kids. You know, promoting the locker room, the hype, video stuff. You know, he's got that same energy. Yeah,
Right.
I like what he brings. So
Right. Well, one of the more fascinating stories to me is how Gulf Breeze became a kind of a local basketball power. It is neat because the way they really did it was they took a guy that was working in the youth systems and they pushed him through. And so, you have a system in place that goes from sixth grade to 12th. And that works, right? When you hit the ground running at the ninth grade level, it's a huge help, and it's why if you flip it over to what we're about to talk about football, it's why Rhett Summerford wants the Cantonment Cowboys to be a feeder for him alone, right? Because he wants
yeah,
them to be on the same page when they get to his school. Like the first thing he told me when he took the job at Tate was, I got to get Cantonment back. My feeding pool can't be splintered,
yeah,
right? And if you can do that, it'll be
yeah,
interesting too. And I hope
makes
Wade will
sense.
let me talk about it because PHS is about to have seventh and eighth grade, and they're not going to be able to play football probably, obviously.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
create a relationship with these guys, get them in weight rooms, that's some stuff we're going to ask him about. Then you kind of hit the ground running at the ninth grade level, and it's a little different, and kids are likely to hopefully stay. That'll be with Wade, though. With you, first and foremost.
Yeah.
There were rumors abound the FHSAA was doing voting to try to change things again. So would that be 7 changes in 2 years or how?
So they pretty much like change things every 2 years, and it just I wish they'd like come up with something and stay with it for
Right.
5, 10 years, but they just don't every 2 years. So this one, obviously they're taking away a classification. Um, so they'll have 6 classes plus rural, so they'll have 7 total. The six bigger, the 1A through 6A will be like they'll play districts like they do now.
Right.
Rural still won't have a district. But so then, but they're going to have bigger districts. So maybe like we'll see, Pace, Milton, Navarre, Gulf Breeze, maybe Pine Forest or Escambia. Maybe we'll see some of those schools get bunched in together,
Right.
because it would be competitive if you
Right.
did it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe they're
think
going to
about it.
do
Think
that.
about it now. You have 4A and 3A. Those are two three-team districts in our
Yep.
area. It's Bay West Florida, PHS, it's Pine Forest, Escambia, Washington. If that
Yeah.
was one district, or if say whichever one, I don't know off the top of my head which one's the biggest. My guess would be Washington has the most students, but obviously
Probably.
without the use of Google search, which would slow the process
Yeah.
of our discussion down, I'm going to say it's Washington. So maybe you take Washington and you put them in 5A with your Mosley, Niceville, Milton, Gulf Breeze, which would be a lot of driving for them, but you know what I mean. And then the
Yeah.
other five be in the other district, and it kind of makes sense. It's a little weird to have a three-team district, you know.
Yeah.
It's
It's
or
odd.
or maybe you take 3A PHS and move them into Catholic. You know,
Yeah.
maybe that 3A gets split in that direction because I think PHS may be a little smaller than Bay in West Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Probably.
it would make more sense for them to be in that other classification probably. But so that's what they're doing. They're going to well, so what does that do to rule? Does Baker not have a
So,
district? How's that work?
so it's just going to be the way it always is, where
It's
uh, you'll play your teams, but then your playoffs will be determined by the rankings only.
correct. So
So
just like
it
now
could,
where Baker's ranked third overall at 10-0, and then you have like who is it? Um Central or somebody's down there ranked or Jay or somebody's
yeah,
down there ranked at
yeah,
17.
yeah.
You know
Days
what I mean?
down.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Baker's always good, so they're probably not as worried about it as we are because they're just like,
Yeah, and it'd be hard to do a district here for rural just because it pretty much be like you got four teams with Northview, Central, Jay, and Baker.
mhm.
If you wanted to make it any bigger, you'd have to like bring in some teams from the east, like Bluntstown or Madison County or something. And that'd be hard to do. It's a lot of travel. So I
Right.
don't know. They're keeping,
It'd almost be easier to let Alabama in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So,
So tell me this: how do they figure out like how was Pace not in the playoffs last year?
well, you mean 2 years ago when they didn't get in
Yeah.
with the
That's
two?
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like they said, like Pace had been like ranked, all year in the top eight. So, there was no reason to think they weren't getting in. And then they got left out. They said it was strength of schedule. And that's why Pace went out. The last 2 years they've had like a really tough schedule
Right.
because they wanted to take that out of the equation. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like Milton, I feel like is kind of in that boat right now where they're 7-3, but they haven't beaten Niceville. They haven't beaten Mosley. They lost the Pace.
Right.
Does Niceville jump?
Yeah.
Do they get left out? Because someone's got to get left out in that 5-8 because Lincoln gets in
Well,
as a district champion.
I don't know how important it is, but the what's the what I read was Niceville was ranked second in that district.
Yeah,
And
Niceville's moving up.
yeah, even though they're
Like,
6-4, and like you said, head to head, right? And you
yep.
think Milton's going to make it because they're 7-3, but the three,
Yeah.
you know, and the pace game wasn't close. It's tricky there, and it's a shame because Pace hasn't played many close games. I don't know if I can fault
No.
you for not playing a close game of Pace. Um,
No.
so who do you think gets in like the area you cover most closely, I would guess, is your 5A and your 6A because of Navarre specifically, and then also the reach out with Gulf Breeze and you're right there. Niceville ain't that far away from you.
Yeah.
Mosley, Chalk ain't
Yeah.
that far away.
Yeah.
So who do you think gets in those areas, which would be like 6 and 5A?
So obviously Pace is in. They're going to be Pace will be 3 or 4, depending on what the rankings do. Uh, Milton, I feel like they should be in.
Mhm.
That it'd be great for them to get in because they've had a great year.
Absolutely.
Not knocking their year. It's just a matter of I don't know if they might end up at like 6 or 7 in the ranking because
Right.
I just feel like Niceville's gonna take that 5 spot.
Uh-huh.
And maybe they don't. Maybe I'm wrong. But Milton definitely Pace, Crestview's getting in. Uh,
So do
probably
you
has an 8 seed.
forgive me, do
What's
you
that?
think it's Niceville or Milton?
No, I just think Niceville's gonna jump Milton in the
Right. Okay.
rankings
Okay.
because Niceville has had a better like finish.
Yeah.
They did win the head to head.
Right.
So now who knows? I mean, I'm no genius when it comes to that, but
Correct. We're
that's
guesstimating. Right. We're guesstimating. Man, I tell you,
yeah.
you've seen Niceville play,
But
right?
and mhm,
You've seen
yep,
Niceville play, right? Can you believe what is it, a
yeah, yeah.
freshman running back and a sophomore quarterback?
It's
That's
crazy,
it
and they're
is
good. They're
it
good.
is
They're good players.
right. It is crazy. When you look at that 5A, right? Mosley's got a fantastic quarterback. Niceville's got a fantastic young quarterback. Milton has probably the best athlete of the bunch, but he's a college safety in Hall playing
Yeah, yeah,
quarterback.
yeah,
That's a really
yeah,
loaded QB position in that district. Okay,
yeah.
so you were saying no.
So yeah, so Pace Milton for sure. Crestvew's in. Probably has 8, but maybe they'll get to like 7 or 6. Maybe we'll get a Pace Crestview rematch. I mean, who knows?
That'd be fun.
Um, yeah, it would be a lot of fun because I know Crestview feels like, they want that. They want to play now after, getting beat so bad the first time. But
Right.
Baker's obviously in. Um, Jay is probably I thought they'd be in, but I don't know. It's going to be close because
Right.
everyone in front of them won on Friday.
Right.
So it's going to be hard to like move
Jump.
up. I mean, it's going to be hard to jump. Maybe they do, but it's going to be tough.
Right.
Obviously Catholics getting in and,
Uh-huh.
and what Pine Forest, they win their district. So did they
Pine
win the
Forest won the
district?
district, and
So they're getting
Escambia
in.
was second, and Washington was third.
Yeah.
And on
Yeah.
social media, I saw Washington's trying to raise money to play.
Yeah.
And
I
I
don't
was,
know. It'll be
I,
interesting.
well, I was talking to my good friend Mark Hobley, who's on Paul Tripley's show on Wednesdays and Thursdays quite often, most of the time. And, Mark has been watching and studying high school sports hard a long time. So whenever I'm in question, I either text you or I call him, right, about these things. And
Yeah.
he said that he thought all three teams would get in because that 4A is weird because they tend to play 5A teams. So there's
Yeah.
not a ton of great records once you get past the top guys. So
Yeah.
you can get in at 3-7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because oh
Yeah.
yeah, you lost to a Pace who's ranked number 2 in the state. You lost to a Crestview who's really good. You lost to a Mosley, in bigger schools than you. And so hopefully they all three get in because I just like for all these kids to get that opportunity. And
Yeah.
also like for
Yeah.
a guy like Anka, he's finally starting to feel like Coach Anka. He's finally starting to feel like I'm turning that curve. He's got some good seniors, but he's also got guys coming back, so extra time. Escambia is young, so obviously an extra practice, extra time would be really helpful to them. Pine Forest, I mean, they feel like they. I actually went over and talked to Carrie. I don't think it was off the record, so I think I can say it. We were just talking though, and but he was saying, how important it was for the kids to win district, even though things had. He's like, hey, we played really, really good football teams. We played the best quarterbacks in the area. We played the best offensive lines in the area. We played, and so to feel like they did something and win district was huge for them as a program moving forward, and just for the motivation of kids getting in there all the time. Catholic is they're really good, and they're gonna get to host a game.
They should. I think so. I should get to host a game at least once. Pace is in the same boat. Pace should get to host a game. So um at
Right.
least one, you know.
Okay.
But
Okay. So, okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for helping me clear some of the stuff up in my head. I appreciate that very much. Who do you think has a chance to go deep? 6A. Is it pace
You
only?
know, I like pace, definitely. Just because what they have, especially with the offensive line and McHale,
Yeah.
being who he is. And that defense has played pretty well too. But in 6A2, I mean, you can't sleep on Crestview just because
Right.
they got athletes. They
Hmm.
got some athletes. And, coach at the beginning of the year, he's like, he felt like his team was as good as some of the playoff teams of the past at Crestview. They just didn't have the line that those teams had, but they've got the athletes. And sometimes that could be the difference. Milton could get it together in 5A and make a run. They got talent with KD. They always
Yeah.
got a chance,
Yeah.
so maybe they get together and make a run. And Ronnie has had success in the playoffs, so
Hmm.
he knows the deal. So
Right.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But you know, we could have a couple teams making a run around from this area. I mean, so
The interesting thing when I looked at Crestview is I think they have three guys with over 500 yards rushing. And so some
yeah,
teams they'll say, "Oh, we got this one guy, he has 900 yards rushing," or this one guy, he's got. But when you think about, okay, they can hammer you from different areas. You know what I mean? Different guys can do the tricks to it. And
yep,
like you said, a lot of that success came later on, right?
yeah,
And I
yep,
think I think that's going to be interesting. I tell you, they're not really a local team, but Mike Bennett told me he was really impressed with Bay when he played him, who's 9-1.
okay, yeah,
And he
yeah,
said that's the most athletic team I played all year. And he played all the good teams. Mike don't
yep,
duck nobody, and so they're a team even if you don't consider them. What about West Florida? Do they got a chance to get in?
I,
6 and
I
4?
think they got a chance. They got a chance. Maybe I haven't looked too much at what their
Right.
ranking standing is, but they got a chance. They've had a pretty good year.
Right.
With that.
Incredible year
So
considering how many games they won last year.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yep.
those
Big
Summerfords
turnaround.
can coach along those lines. What is this non-championship tournament that like Tate may get into?
It's a. They started last year with rural.
Uh-huh.
Um, so 12 teams get in with rural, I think, and then I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact number for like the other classes, but it's kind of like the NIT in
Okay.
basketball.
Right.
So, you're playing for something, but you're not playing for like the
Right.
big
Did they get
prize.
to
But
did they get to have a home game if you're higher ranked?
yeah, you get a home game and all that stuff. And, so you still get to play,
Extra
4 round, three
practices?
round.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get extra
extra
practice.
practices. So,
Right. Well,
yep.
in a
So,
weird way, right? If you're a young ball club, okay, you go and you make the playoff and you get stuck with pace first, and they beat you by 42, and you go home after 1 week of practice. Or you get in this
yeah,
other tournament that's got a couple of rounds, and you win a game, and then you win another game, and next thing you know, you got 2 extra weeks of practice. You played in some games that kind of, when you're in high school, every game matters. Right. It's not
yeah,
like
yeah,
the NBA where it's Tuesday and you're on the road and you're not really feeling it today. You know what I mean? Every game
yeah,
matters. You only get so many, right? Um, quickly before we wrap this up, you remember that article? We talked about it a little bit on the show a few weeks ago when you came on. The article you wrote about when things aren't going right, having to
yeah, yeah,
persevere. Okay.
yep, yep, yep,
I was driving home 2 or 3 days ago, and I was just thinking about life in general. And I thought about your article, and I thought about the kids who are on teams that won 3 games, 2 games, 4 games. And then I thought about because I have a job, you have a job, right? And I thoroughly enjoy my job. But, and I actually, in theory, I have 2 jobs considering this. And I really enjoy both of them, but not more than being with my wife and kids. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And so when it comes to getting up and going and doing something when maybe you'd rather be spending some time with your son today, right? That's work. And these kids that have gone through a full season and didn't give up, the seniors who have kind of hopefully set the table for some success next year and the year after for the guys younger than them, but they kind of got the real lessons of sport in a way. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Navarre's a great example. They went 1-9, and those kids, for the most part, they fought all year. They played hard. The scoreboard didn't, show it,
Right,
but they played hard. They could have quit. They could have given up. They heard a lot of outside noise from, parents and fans and, just probably fellow students at school even, probably saying things, it's
right.
like, but they fought through. And like Coach Bagley after the game the other night against Niceville, he brought up, the perseverance part of it. He's like, because he's like, no one ever asked him what his 40 time was in a job interview.
Right.
No one asked him what he can bench in a job interview. If they ask you about the intangibles and just those things, can you persevere? Can you adapt when, things don't go your way? Just there's things like that, you can't put on a stat sheet, but there are things that help you in life beyond high school. And,
Right.
that's what it's supposed to be about in a lot of ways, is helping you prepare for life.
100%. 100%. Think about Capri's. Think about Capri. They went 0-10. I don't want to emphasize that because you had four different coaches in 4 years. But those
Yep.
kids didn't quit on the school. They could have easily said, I had three coaches quit on me. I'm tired of this. They
Yeah.
developed a relationship with an ex-NFL player in Eric Harris who took over the program, a guy who I'm sure, since they finished out with him, will vouch for them in different scenarios, right?
Yep.
But more importantly, they learned the biggest lesson in life, which is show up. You said you were going to do it, show up and do the best you can.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's true.
That's it, man. All right. Thank you so much. Brian, thank you for giving me your time, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Take care, man. I'll see you around soon.
All right.